Hey guys, and thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, we'd really appreciate it if you would. Today I'm going to show you how to hang a TV like this, like a pro. I've hung well over 100 televisions, so I have a lot of experience in this area, and I can give you good recommendations as far as TV brands, brackets, and the tools you'll need. We'll start with how to get the TV prepped, and then how to get it up on the wall. Let's take a look. There's already electrical here, and we're not going to go over things like running electrical in this video, just how to safely mount a television. You can see this is marked for the bottom of the TV, so that's the bottom. That'll give us the total height. We're going to center it on this wall, left and right. We do have low voltage down here that I already plated, and that could get moved up because this wall is hollow, but this video is not about running wires, just about mounting a TV. And this is in a guest bedroom, so the TV is just going to have power and then be on the network to use the smart TV functions. No additional, DVD players or anything else connected, cable box, satellite, anything like that. As far as tools for the job, I really recommend having a drill, a socket set, or wrenches or something to put the lag bolts in, which I'm going to use my impact, screwdriver, stud finder, which this is a very nice one, but you can use a more basic one, or you can use the magnet method, a tape measure, a level, and drill bits. So we got the TV unboxed and laid on this bed. We've got the foam sheet that was covering it underneath to keep static and everything off the TV. If you don't have anywhere safe, just take the box, put the foam back in it so it's sturdy, lay it down and set the TV on that, and that'll keep it safe. We're using a Sanus Classic mount today. I really do like Sanus mounts, and I think the quality of mount really does matter. I'm very familiar with this one. I've probably hung 20 to 50 televisions with it, and it's definitely of quality, and I do think the quality matters because they're easier to use. I've already opened the box for the mount, so this is the wall bracket portion that's going to go on the wall. These are the brackets for the back of the TV. There's hooks at the top and then a knob on each side. So the knobs are going to go on the outside, and we'll go over that here in a moment for left and right. Also comes with various machine screw sizes depending on the TV, washers, and spacers. Also lag bolts that go in a wooden studded wall in order to hold the bracket. So we're going to get the brackets installed on the back of the television. We're going to try to center them vertically on the TV, kind of based on this knob. And we're going to take just one bolt and put it in. You'll need to use judgment as far as what length the bolt, but you want to make sure it's able to snug all the way down. This TV is a Samsung, and it's using the M8 bolts, but it comes with a variety, and hopefully one of them fits your TV. If it doesn't, you could have to go to the hardware store to get something else. I'm just going to temporarily hook the bracket in so that I can get an overall idea of where this is going to land on the wall. So we're going to take a bullet level that's got a magnet in it, and I'm going to stick the end of the tape measure to that magnet and use that to kind of figure out our height. So with the bubble centered, the bottom of the bracket's at 11 inches, so we're going to make sure we've got room on the wall with that outlet to still get to the height that the customer wants. So let's measure 11 inches up from our bottom mark. That'll show the height of the bracket, the bottom of the bracket. That puts us very close to that outlet. So I'm not quite thrilled with that. So I'm going to take this back out, and we're going to move it about an inch down, so that's probably going to put us about 3 holes right about here. Again, I'm just going to tighten the one bolt. Line the other side up in a similar way. Take our level, figure out the bottom of the mount. Now we're at 12 inches. And then we're going to check that on the wall. Measure again at 12 inches. That puts us right about here, which should keep us clear of the outlet. So I'm going to take the bracket back off. Now I'm going to install the washers on these bolts. Put them all 4 in. I've got 5 holes on this side, so we're going to count 5 on that side and then put in our bolt. First, I got to take this one out to get the washer back on. All right, so for tightening these down, I don't want to just arbitrarily tighten them where they sit because they've got slop. So I'm going to pull down and to the outside and keep that pressure while I tighten them down. That way, hopefully they're as level as they can be on the TV. Same with this one. I'm going to go down into the other outside, get them nice and tight. And that should be ideal for having the right height as well as level. Next, we need to find the center of the wall because the homeowner does what it's centered. So we're going to be approximate with where we think it's going to be. And then we're going to measure off this outside wall into a round number. So 6 feet is 72 inches. We're going to mark real light. Then we're going to measure off the other wall to that mark. We're at 70 and a half within about a 30-second. So we're going to do 70 and a half plus 72 divided by 2, 71 and a quarter. So we're going to measure off this wall, 71 and a quarter. And we're going to mark it. And then we're going to check ourselves by measuring off the other wall, 71 and a quarter plus about a 1/16. So we're within a 1/16 the center. To figure out the height where the bracket needs to go on the wall, we're going to reinstall it onto these. We're going to use our level again with the tape measure. And we're going to figure out where the center of the top hole is. So with the bubble pretty level, we're at about 18 inches to the center of the top holes of the bracket. We're going to check it again in another position, center, about 18 again. So we're going to measure up from our height on the wall, 18 inches, to where the top of that bracket's going to be. So that'll be the center of the top hole, and then we've got the center of the wall as well. So that gives us a pretty approximate spot we're going to hit. I like to go ahead and double check it before doing anything. So we're going to measure again. Double check that we're at 18 here for the height, making sure that this is as high up as it'll go. It's right at 18, and then 18 on the wall again. So now we need to find the studs in the wall, and I'm going to use a Franklin Sensor stud finder. This is the best stud finder money can buy. I'll put a link to it in the description, but it is a bit spendy, so if you don't want to go this route, there are cheaper ones, but a lot of them don't work very well. So I'm going to highly recommend the magnet method if you don't have a good stud finder or don't want to spend the money on a good one like this one, but I'll show you why this is the best on the market. So we've got our height of the bracket and the center point on the wall, so we know where we're going to end up putting the bracket. The stud is always on one side of an outlet, and you can hear it, hollow, not hollow. So we know there's a stud right here, but we can also check it by using the stud finder. So I'm just going to drag it across, and notice the lights are going to line up with where the stud is. So if I mark the height by the lights, that's going to give me a really good idea where the stud is. You can also do it upside down and notice where they are. You really want to drill in the middle of the stud, so I highly recommend checking it from both directions, figuring out where that stud is so you can hit the middle. We're going to do the same on this side. And there's the stud. So we're going to mark the inside and outside. And we're going to go from the middle and go back to double check, because sometimes it'll be shifted off a little bit because of the pattern of the lights. But we know if we hit the middle of these marks, we're going to hit pretty close to middle in that stud. There's a mini version of this as well that's a little bit cheaper, FYI. So with this bracket, it's extremely apparent where the center is. You've got 3 equal size holes. And then if you look, this one's the center. So if I put my little cross, which is the left to right on the wall, and then the up and down for the height, you can see where it belongs, and I can see my stud marks. This one's just barely visible, and then the other one, so I know I'm going to want to go to the inside. Then on this one on the right, you can see where that ends up. And again, we're going to go a little bit to the right, and you can see where it is. We're only going to drill 1 hole to start, and we're going to check it with our level. So to figure out what size hole to drill for this lag bolt, we're going to take a drill bit, we're going to hold up the lag, and we're going to put the drill bit behind the lag bolt. And you shouldn't really be able to see it if you're looking at it straight on. But if you tilt it ever so slightly, you should be able to see it on both ends. So that way you know it's the right size. You can also put it out front, and you should be able to see the threads fully when it's out front of the bolt like this. If you go too much smaller, you could break the stud. If you go too much bigger, then you're not going to have a lot for the threads to hold on to. So our drill bit's in the drill. We're going to check our height by holding the lag bolt up, and so you should see that they're about the same length because of the end of the collet, and then where the actual head is about the same. So now let's drill our first hole. I always drill the right hole first. I'm going to hold this up just to help catch dust, but obviously not a necessity. I go about halfway through because this drill bit's not threaded all the way through. And then finish my depth. You should feel hitting the stud. It should be really firm. If you're unsure, you feel like you can't find the center, you could take a very small drill bit and drill a series of holes across till you find where it falls through on both sides, and then you know when it falls through on both sides where the center of the stud is. So I'm going to hold up the bracket with that center mark, and I'm going to put my level on top, but I'm going to be careful to not clamp it behind because I don't want it to get stuck. It doesn't have to be perfectly level because we're not putting the second lag in yet. I just want it to be close, so I just want to have some idea of the level. You may have a bracket that comes with a level on it. I don't typically trust those because they're usually held on with paper. You don't want to over tighten, but obviously that's too loose, and that's enough. If you just get it just tight, you should be able to shift the bracket up and down to be sure and get it more level. Once you do that, you know where you need to drill the second hole for this left stud. However, you've got this bit set for the height with the head here. You won't be able to get it all the way in because of this. So I'm just going to loosen, give myself about another ½ inch on the drill bit, and now I'm good to go. So now we're going to drill the second hole in the middle of this stud. So you can hear it when I hit the bracket. Another lag bolt. We're going to go with the impact again. So I'm going to leave it a little loose. Make sure we're perfectly level on here. And if you're not, if you like this side needs to come down just a hair, I'm going to loosen it. Get it all the way down. Tighten again. Push this up. Now we're perfect. Tighten it down. So now this should be plenty stable. Of course, the bottom will pivot out because we don't have lags in that yet. Now we can drill our last two holes, and we know where they're going to go because they're going to go in the corresponding lower slot, just same left to right. And we got our last two lag bolts. See how it changes pitch when it gets tight? So that's what you know. Go ahead and pull on it just to be sure. If you over tighten, you're going to crack the drywall a bit. And you may crack the drywall anyway, even if you're not over tightening, because unfortunately the way drywall is done, sometimes it stands off the stud just a little bit, and that causes it to crack once you put pressure on it, because you're pulling the drywall to the stud like the screws should be. Now that we're back at the TV, I'm going to go ahead and plug in the cord and loosen this twist tie here. And I'm also going to check these straps that are on the brackets. We don't want them hanging down. This is how you release the TV. If they're hanging down, you'll be able to see them. So I'm just going to tighten these straps up just so that you can't see them with them all the way up, but I'll still be able to reach up. If they do hang too low, even tightened, you could also loosen them and hook them around the adjustment knob for the tilt. There are mounts that don't have tilt adjustment. I really recommend that you get one that does. And this is another reason I like Sanus. It's a good quality mount. It's not the thinnest in the world to get it sucked to the wall as tight as humanly possible, but it gives you the most adjustability in a mount. I also recommend taking a quick picture of the inputs on the back of the TV so it's not guesswork later. Now on bigger TVs, you want 2 people to get it on the wall. So what we're going to do is hook these hooks on this bracket. There's 1. There's 2. And we're good. We do need to plug in the power so we can tilt the TV up and then check the length of the cord. And once we know how much length we need, we can put a zip tie around the cable so that it won't hang down. We're not going to choke the life out of it, just tight enough. Now we're plugged in. You can see our center mark still. There we go. So now we can see the TV's up on the wall. You can see our height mark is almost exactly to the bottom of the TV. This is angled up a bit. And then this is our center mark, which will help us center it on the wall. Also, you can check your level. The TVs these days don't have a lot of very level spots on them like they used to. So you really got to fight for it to find where you can see if it's level. So you can see we are very close to perfect. If it doesn't want to erase properly, or if your eraser's smearing it, highly recommend a magic eraser, because those certainly work on lead like this. Really like this mount because you can see behind it there's not a whole lot of room, but enough to be able to tilt it and to be able to still reach some inputs too, which is nice. This really turned out great, and a lot of that has to do with using a good quality television and the mount. If you've got trepidation about this, find a friend, or of course you could pay somebody to help you, but it's really not that difficult. Just be very careful about electrical and plumbing and things like that if you don't know what's inside the wall. The bracket really makes a big difference because it spans 2 studs, so it's sturdy, but it also gives you a lot of adjustability to slide this guy around to get it centered how you want to. Cheap ones have smaller brackets. They're not, tilt adjustable. And then of course there are articulating mounts that pull out, and those get a little bit more complicated, but the good ones of those still have that bracket where you can slide it to get it where you want it to sit. Also, the quality of the TV makes a big difference. These Samsungs, you saw the back is pretty flat. On the cheaper ones, the bottom, like this much of the TV, is bumped out, and therefore the brackets can't go below that. So they have to be high, and that restricts your adjustability for where all this stuff can end up, especially if you've already got an outlet. I really, like the Sanus products and the Samsung, and I think it's a great combination. I'll put links in the description to both of these, as well as the stud finder and anything else that I used on this job. And if you could use those links, it really helps support our channel. If you have any questions, please put those in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if there's anything you want to add that I didn't include, please get that in the comments as well. I'm always glad to learn something new. Thanks.